This is Short Hammer. It is the 5th of June, 2022, and this is Trading Zones. Hopefully, your weekend was amazing, like mine was, and you're ready for another trading week. Actually, a full trading week, right? So, if we're looking at the RTY, um, it's looking kind of janky a little bit, right? So, this we had go back to the 30th of May. It looks like right now we have a lower high and a potential. So if we're looking here, it's lower than this. It's just a 4 hour. And it would be cool if we had a lower low, then we'd have a trend. But we'll see how this goes, right? This could easily buy up here, but right now the last few 4 hour candles have just been selling, right? So we want to see if we're gonna see any buyers step in. And if it continues to drop, yes, it's possible that they could step in around the 1860s, 1863-ish area. And if we go lower, there is a possibility they could step in around the 1830s, right? But that's something that we have to watch out for as we dip down. If we happen to reverse this trend and we get a higher candle to candle, a higher 4 hour candle, and we can pop this top and go back here through the 1910 area, then that would be wonderful. And then we keep our eye open for the 1925s and potentially the 1943s. If we do dip through down into the 1829s, 1815s, then potentially 1758s. But I wonder if we get any type of a little bit of a hitch in here, because if we look at this candle on the 1st of June around 10 a.m., we did get a slight flash down, then we bought back up quickly, right? Financials are kind of funny because this is what you want to remember. When we look at the market, people tend to think that because the Fed is reducing the balance sheet and also they're raising interest rates and also inflation is high, they're thinking that the market is just going to sell nonstop. That's not how it works. The data itself does not move the market. The reaction to the data moves the market, right? So if someone's algos are programmed that if they see these words, they should sell, then that could happen. But they could program it to say, hey, if you see these words now, I want you to buy, right? So maybe it's programmed for selling before, but then their interpretation of the data may change. This could be the same exact data, but their interpretation of the data may change. And so now that algo is sort of is executing on that data in a different way. So be careful in thinking in a linear way when it comes to the market, because the market does not the market is it's not a linear thing. You can't say if that then this. That's not how it works. You have to have built-in flexibility for the market to react differently to the same exact information. So Monday could be the interest rates are up, housing prices are going to tank on Monday, the market sells. On Tuesday, oh my gosh, interest rates are high, the market's going to sell. Oh my gosh, houses aren't selling, the market's going to sell. On Wednesday, interest rates are high, the housing market is slowing down, it's cooling because of the rise in interest rates and people getting mortgages, and the market goes up on that news. So you can have the same data multiple days, but the market decides the interpretation of it. The data has no power in and of itself. It's the interpretation by the market and what they do with that data once they receive it. That's what you want to wait for. It's like almost being a good counterpuncher, right? So we'll see how this plays out on the RTY. I do feel a little bit salty because I did put on a Goldman Sachs trade that did not go the way that I wanted it to go. I got out green, but I really thought that bad fella was going to dump, and it just kind of pinned and hung around those 319s and bottomed out and then ran back up. So that's interesting, but not really that interesting right now. Let's keep it going with this. So looking at the MES, and you see the same type of thing. Would it be cool if we made a higher high here? That'd have been a cool setup, but that's not what we have. So what we have to see is, will this hold? So will we sell through the 4070s? And then we're it's like right in here, the 4074 area. That's the area it seems that we've dipped down into that area or near it and bought up 3 different times on 3 different 4 hour candles, right? So on this little dip here, when we dip down there, will the same thing happen again? And it does look like, right? I know it's not exact, right? This purple line is the 50, and this is on a 4 hour chart now, mind you. So it seems like each time we interacted with that purple EMA, the 50, that the buyers did kind of feel inclined to buy. And here also, we'll see what they do here. Any one of these, this next one or the one after, they could be inclined to sell on that interaction. But we want to see how that works. If that happens, then that does open up the 4070s here and potentially the 4015s if we decide to go lower. If we decide to buy up out of this and reverse this little short-term pattern of selling, right? And get back over the 4142 area, then through the 4168, then up here around 4203, then we could really see if the buyers have sort of got a little bit of control here. Because the seller, yeah, the buyers have control because the sellers had definitely had control of it before. So now we want to see if the buyers have wrested that control and they're going to give us a nice little buy up. So we have to see which way we go here, right? So just be careful as we're looking at this. Let's jump on over to the MNQ if we could. That's funny. It makes me think of that movie. But I'm not gonna get into that. Looking at the MNQ, and the main thing with the MNQ, remember we mentioned in the last video, 12,500 to 12,600. Same area on the NQs, I believe. You have to take a look at that. But remember, we had this dip, right? So we take this all the way back to the 6th of May, right? When we dropped here and went into 12,519s. Then we had a flare out of there. Then right back into that area here again on the 8th of May, right? And then we finally went through back to that area. We dropped. And from the 12090s, what is this? 12106-ish, 12100s, I'll say. We bounced, went right back into the 12500s. Rejection, 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 again, rejection, rejection. Dipped all the way down to 11,710s, bought all the way back up. Rejection, rejection, rejection. This is all in the 12,500s. Rejection, rejection, multiple 4-hour candles, rejection, back down again. And this time when we pulled up into the 12,500s, initially, right? Initially, and we didn't even quite get, actually, we didn't get there yet. We're here. I apologize. It's lower. We pulled up to the 12,500s, and you see this, the push through that area. Look at the buying. Look at these candles. Look at the just trying to give us that push, like it's gone. But what do? Pull right back to it, right? And back to it, away, and back to it, back to it, back through it, not even to it, back through it. It looks like, or we keep going right back to that area. And here we drop below, but look at that wick, the rejection, back up and back to it again, right? So what's that telling you? There's a little bit of stickiness between the 12,500 and the 12,600 area. Man, that's an area that's really contentious, the battle for Middle Earth, right? Between the buyers and the sellers. The buyers and sellers, when it comes to that area, they both have a strong conviction, right? And, if the buyers really had control here on this break and they're trying to hold it, they would be giving us separation here, which is what we need. So we have to see how this plays out. I will definitely be watching closely to see if we dip down into the 12,400s, and if we do, if we close, right? Because we really haven't closed down there in a while, about a week, right? So I want to see if we actually on the 4-hour to 4-hour chart have a close in the 12,400s, and that's what I'll be looking to see. And until that happens, leery of the bears are back in control. We have to see how this plays out. Right now, I don't think anyone's really in control, right? I think there's just a battle for balancing, people balancing in positions, people getting out of positions. I think there's just a lot of churn, and not a clear, from my perspective, not a clear sign that the bulls have control, right? And so right now, if I'm looking at this as on a short term, right? In the short term, it appears as if we are holding the 12,500s. We have to see if that continues, right? And we'll get an opportunity to see that this upcoming week on Monday. We'll see. I think it's an interesting thing. high interest rates are supposed to hurt tech companies. So, and sort of the things going on around Elon and him, sort of the angst around his workforce and people not wanting to work in the office. That's the thing. His connection to Twitter and wanting to purchase Twitter. That's the thing. It's just there are a lot of small things that are causing turbulence. And also, if you remember, Microsoft gave weak guidance going forward. They didn't have earnings, but they gave weak guidance to let people know that their next earnings report may not be as good as expected, right? So that's all interesting to me. Let's keep it moving over to Amazon. But definitely watch to see if we get back through that area. That's something to keep on your radar if you're looking at the futures. So Amazon, if we go back to the 12th of May, and then we tested that area, went a little bit below it here, right? Down to the 2030s, right? Down from the what's this, like 2050s, not too much below it, but we looked at that lower wick, how we pushed up off of that area. And here again, another test, and we started to separate here on the 25th of May, and then look at that grind up, right? So what I would say is I believe that this upcoming week is when Amazon splits 20-1, and it should see some action. It should be a lot of people sort of pouring into Amazon. If we're going to get a bullish move in the market, this upcoming week would really be a good time for it, based on where the futures are, as far as the tech futures, and based on the news around Amazon. This would probably be a good time to really get a good squeeze on Amazon. We have to see, but I think it's really a good time. If Amazon wants to run this upcoming week, it's a good time, because the market is just looking for direction, I believe. And if we get some strength from tech, that might be the catalyst needed to give us a nice little squeeze up. I don't care which way we go. I just want range. I want tremendous range in either direction. So let's see if we can buy back up here. Though this chart, I believe, will look different in the upcoming week with the stock splits. But let's see. But just looking at this, we definitely would want to see buyers hold the 20. What is this in here? Like about 2407-ish. So the low 2400s, like 2400 to 2410. That'd be good to hold. Because we see it here, right? So we had to go back 31st of May. It's the last time we kind of had any action below that level. But going forward, that 2400 area seems to have been pretty strong. And so we're getting separation from that area to the upside. If we crack through that, then maybe that would open up the 2318-ish area. So we have to see. But that's interesting. If you look to the left here, right? Same thing. This area through here, a little bit of turbulence. So we have to see. But when you look at that on the charts and you see that that area was a little congested, you can expect that to be the case moving forward, right? We come back to that area. Don't be shocked if it's congested. Looking at Microsoft, who I believe here it is on the 2nd of June that they did mention that they were expecting a little bit of weakness, right, for them. But the market sort of bought that right back up. And if you look at it, Microsoft was not bad headed into the end of the week. So where we are right now, we have to see if we get any downward movement below the 267.80s. If we do not, then we have to keep our eyes open to see if we get movement up around the 276s. If we get a squeeze and a push through that area, 271.75 is also an area. But that's what to watch on Microsoft. We have to see. I think a lot of these stocks are in limbo as they're trying to find out sort of what the economic news and the economic turmoil is going to do to some of these individual names. And so just for me, I have no bias. I have no idea. Just be waiting to execute. And surprised at Microsoft. Well, surprised and not surprised, right? But historically, they've done pretty well in the sectors that they engage in. Okay, let me pick up the pace. Oh my goodness. Okay, jetting over to Netflix, and we have seen movement, but ever since that strong dip, it's been brutal. I've mentioned Netflix quite a few times, and people know my perspective on it. I think they're challenged in sort of their sector. Um, they were the sector leader, but it seems as if the entire sector is now into streaming, right? So we have to see. And if we're looking at this, we're seeing higher lows, higher highs. We'll see if this turns into another higher low and we get a little bit of buying here. If not, and we do happen to dip below the 189.20s, that would change this pattern of higher lows. All these aren't necessarily higher highs because this is not, but we just continued on each pullback to buy up in Netflix. Even though I'm not a like I watch Netflix, but I just think they're in a tough spot as to what they're going to do. I don't think they have enough nostalgic content. I just think they're just in a tough spot. But that's just my perspective, one person's perspective, right? So let's see if we can if we fall back down here on the 190.91 area. If we see more buyers, or if we reverse here and head back up. So we have to see how that plays out on Netflix. Facebook. Nice, pull back to 191 from 190. Push through. Okay, so we want to see if this 191 holds. We sell down to 184, and then potentially the 179 area. If we do hold and we go up, keep an eye on the 198, and then the 208.60s, it looks like. So we have to see how this plays out watching these levels, which for us to get through this hitch here from the okay, cool. So we have to see. So we'll see if we can get back above this level here. And if we dip back down to the 179.60s, let's see how that plays out on Facebook. We had to see. I definitely want to find out more about Meta and what they're doing to grow that business, and how they're soliciting clients for that portion of their business. I think that's going to be interesting to see, especially as people are doing office meetings online, right? And as these big brands go online, we're just definitely going to be interesting to see how that's curated in the metaverse. So we'll see. But definitely watching Facebook here. Looks like we're going to go lower, but you never know. Headed coming out of a weekend, how something may move. Could be gaps in either direction. But definitely watching these levels on Facebook. NVDA. So it looks like we did hold those 157s. We pushed up through the 180, 190s, back tested here, saw a little bit of movement up, and we're pulling back down, touching the 292 area would have been great. Did not happen. So what we're watching for is when we dip back down here, and this is all basically higher lows, higher highs, right? So we want to see what happens here at the 180, 190s. or or 180 area. We want to see what happens around here to see if we sell back through, or if this little dip area here from the 1st of June and overnight, if that continues to hold and we get a push back up. That will be interesting on NVIDIA. And you may want to take a glance and see what's going on in the chip market now. I know they're saying that the supply is supposed to be low and demand is supposed to be high for the foreseeable future, but definitely take a look at that. And I know used car prices are not really going down. Um, so that's something to watch as we're thinking about the economy and what people are spending their money on. The cost of repair is even higher now because the parts cost so much more, and because there's such a strain on the supply chain. So there's definitely a lot. I know the chip shortage seemed like such a small, tiny thing because it seemed to only focus on a small group um, of specific companies and individuals, right? But the chip thing is a bigger thing because it creates anything that creates more pressure on the supply chain is a problem, period. And no matter where that problem is caused, there's always a ripple effect. And the ripple effect of the increase in price in car prices, the increase in subprime car loans, the increase in the default of subprime car loans, just all those things that sort of are an offshoot from, hey, there's a supply demand issue in the chip market, right? And then you have all these issues that come from that. Because you have that issue, there are all these other challenges that arise that must be dealt with. So definitely very interesting on NVIDIA. Remember those levels. Keep it moving. Tesla, good movement here. Definitely had some weakness when Elon was mentioning that he sees some, a little bit of turbulence ahead, and he wants to lighten the workforce. Um, we did mention the 780s, and what's funny is I did take a position on this, but I didn't swing it, and then I took another position on this, but it was already gapped down when I did. It was kind of janky. We have to see what Monday is going to hold for Tesla, but there is a possibility we could sell all the way down to the 650s and then to the 616s. Um, as much as there's a possibility that we could, remount the 713s and get a squeeze to the 780s. But I think that the news around Tesla is not good, and the overall market does have a little bit of weakness in it right now. I have not seen, a bunch of capitulation like we're just selling nonstop. But it is something to watch on Tesla. Definitely watch these levels, and once we drift below them, let's put this. There we go. You have some of the higher levels, the 784. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. I'm not gonna go into that, but definitely have some other levels on Tesla. You can look at these blue lines to be able to pick out different levels that you may like. That's exactly what I do. Well, let's take a peek at Goldman Sachs. Got to do it. Don't want to do it, but I've got to do it. And I need to set up your computer. Okay, so this is funny, right? So if you're looking at Goldman Sachs from the 26th of May to now, what you're noticing is that when we dip down into the 318s or the 316s, anything into the teens, it seems as if we're getting a little bit of buying that pushes it back up the other direction, right? So, and look at that if it dips down here in 310s, which is possible. So, uh, if you're going to trade Goldman Sachs, these are the lines. Watch the 319.20s, the 330.50s, and the 337.79-ish area. Then below that, watch the 310s and the 302s. Just it does have movement. The options can be kind of janky at times, not as liquid as Apple, I don't think. But that's the Goldman Sachs what we're watching for, those specific levels. Okay, over to the SPY. And you look at the SPY, it's a little bit higher this wave than it was 27th May, all that. Okay. Pull back in here. If this holds, we could make a higher high here. That's possible. But we are seeing that we did bounce off the 407s and 4720 specifically, and ricocheted around 417-ish. Let's see. All righty. Get this stuff off of here. All these things. Clear my screen. Okay. So looking at the SPY, mentioned those levels to watch, see what happens around the 409 if we go to there, or the 407 20s if we get to that. If we go below the 407s, watch out for 403.88. Then we'll be having a 399 conversation if we dip that low. But just be careful when the week starts, and try to gauge direction. Don't try to sort of race into it. I think that's it. If you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Power of Pivots, where you can look forward to not just getting more videos from me, but videos from Elisa as she shows you how she utilizes her Power of Pivots script and setup to find great pre-market, great intraday, and great post-market plays. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and keep your family safe, and we will see you next week.